Viewers, very warm welcome to another episode of V News English program Perspectives, in which we bring before you informed perspectives affecting most important issues from around the world. So today we are going to discuss a festering issue in which we'll try to understand what's going on in Balochistan. There are different perspectives around its society, economy, history, security. But today, in order to decipher and deconstruct that, we are joined by a leading expert of Balochistan affairs. He hails from Balochistan. He's a son of the soil. He was born in Quetta. He served in the government. He has been a cabinet member of Balochistan government. So thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Jan Achakzai.
Thank you very much. It's my honor to be here today in your program.
Thank you. Last time you appeared on this show, it was very well received, and millions of people around the world watched that program. So let me start off by asking you, how is today's Balochistan different from, let's say, 10 years ago?
Today we have got a major issue, what I call it, foreign proxy-led insurgency, which is not an indigenous movement, which is the byproduct of Pakistan's geopolitical issues with its neighbor India, and also our neighbor Afghanistan, where we have some issues. As a result of that geopolitical rivalry, they have planted this proxy in Balochistan to create a problem for the state of Pakistan, to create instability, and the vision that the Pakistani state to develop Balochistan as the next hub of industry, of mineral resource mobilization, and the development of Gwadar as a hub of communication, linking the West with Central Asia, and linking Central Asia with the GCC Gulf countries via Balochistan. So in order to cripple that vision of Pakistan, we have seen revived insurgency in Balochistan.
I recall the last time a public version of Pakistan's national security policy came out. It set an ambitious goal that Pakistan wants to transcend from geo-strategic based national security to geo-economic based national security. So are you saying that Balochistan offers Pakistan the hope and opportunity to transcend towards a geo-economic based foreign policy based on resolving not just its economic challenges, but also benefiting from the rich mineral wealth that it offers, and also offering hope and opportunity to the Baloch people. But in contrast, the geostrategic perspective or the strategic behavior of those states which do not want Pakistan to recover from its economic challenges or become strategically and diplomatically relevant around the world in the changing world order are denying and disrupting that process?
Absolutely. Balochistan is the gateway of Pakistan's future. Balochistan's mineral resources, particularly the rare earth and the gold I'm talking about, the Rikodi project is the 10th big mine which is at par with the Latin American wealth we are talking about. Other rare earth, particularly, which lead to silicon and other chips, which China has imposed ban for America. Balochistan can supply and chip in and provide that critical technological know-how that we use it in our mobiles, in our batteries, in other high-tech gadgets. So Balochistan, you have just seen a mineral conference where the United States particularly was keen participant, and they were looking for something big opportunity where Balochistan can provide. in terms of providing this rare earth minerals, where they have got a problem after the tariffs put out by China against the companies that have been providing these rare minerals to the American technologies and their big technological base. So Balochistan is again in the new geo-economic context, in the new geo-economic context, in the sense where we have a trade wars, we have a tariff wars. Balochistan offers a solution, a middle way where America can directly can leverage that opportunity which Pakistan through Balochistan offers. Now, this is something very rare, that Balochistan is part of the big geopolitical contest that is unfolding in terms of the tariff war between China and America. So this is why it raised eyebrows by our regional competitors, particularly India, which has this problem whenever Pakistan wanted to go all the way to transform itself from a geopolitical state to geo-economic trading nation. They wanted to disrupt that process by creating groups like, the separatists, particularly in our periphery regions like FATA or, ex-FATA, part of North, the ex-tribal areas, and Balochistan. This is what they aim at. However, I think after the recording project, which is unfolding in front of us and which will start its production in 2029, the message is being sent out that no matter how the rival countries would try to destabilize Balochistan in terms of security, it cannot, undo the progress that, the resources being exploited by these big companies, the investment they are making it. So I think the overall scenario that is unfolding is of opportunity, of development, of chipping in this economic war that we are contest that we are seeing it between the two big powers in the region. I think Balochistan would keep at a pace where it will be marching towards the big goal of making this country a respectable trading nation down the line.
I think you've made some very strong argument here, and I want you to simplify it for our international audience, that at a time when the world's two leading superpowers are engaged in very intense trade war, and the first salvo from the Trump administration was not just to impose heavy tariffs on China, but also of technology denial. In return, China also has imposed significant tariffs on on the US products. And it seems there are fears in the US that China will deny US access to rare earth minerals. So when you talk about Balochistan, does Balochistan, as a Baloch statesman, as a Baloch politician who understands Baloch culture and history and resources very well, offer not just China, but also US a win-win cooperation and opportunity to, on one hand, China to build and develop Balochistan in a manner that it connects China with the global supply chain around the world, but also offers opportunity to the US to benefit from the rare earth minerals that Balochistan has. So is this story being understood by the world powers?
I think we are already offering the world big opportunity. Barrick Gold is not Chinese company. It's a Canadian-based Western company. It has a big credibility. It has investment in Latin America and other part of the world, and their name is the trust that they impose on Pakistan's system, state system, institutions, where they think that by investing billions of dollars in Balochistan, they can get the benefit that they think that by the end of this century, even the Recordic will sustain that level of profit that they would generate. So that means the Western companies, when they invest in Balochistan, they also can draw benefit from, though it will benefit Balochistan as well and the state of Pakistan by extension. I think Balochistan and by extension Pakistan has never confined its opening door to just one nation. We are open for business. We have strong economic relationship with China. The Gwadar port, the Gwadar recently the airport was constructed. Big infrastructure that is opening up the corridor, which is again Pakistan will be helping transport what Chinese can offer to the GCC countries and also vice versa. So that is one way of trading with China. The second is rare earth minerals, where one of the Western big company, as I just mentioned it, where we are dealing with. So by the time probably next year they would have invested $6 billion. When they say that by 2029 it will start procuring benefit for the whole stakeholders, whether it's local Balochistan government or international company which is investing. So that means we can engage the United States of America and we can offer that why Pakistan is the best partner. Already we have strong relation with the US in terms of economy, very robust trade relations, bilateral. So this can add another dimension to our burgeoning trade relationship between the two countries.
So that brings me to two very important questions. Do you think Pakistan can strike that delicate balance which is needed to ensure that the growing Chinese investment in Pakistan as well as the growing US interest in Pakistan can be simultaneously managed in a secure environment in Balochistan, number one? And number two, in the context of political economy, how do we make sure that the benefit of this very substantial investment in the mining sector, in the rare earth minerals and other areas in Balochistan reach the common man of Balochistan and does not remain confined to the political elite?
First, we have a balancing act always in our foreign policy behavior. We have strong relations with China. We have very robust relations with the US relationship. They are not at the cost of each other. It's supplementing. It's very encouraging that we have kept that balance throughout. It's not a year history. We are talking about decades. We have enjoyed great relations with both nations. Secondly, when Pakistan offers something beyond geostrategic relations in terms of the trade domain, this is very welcoming, particularly in the context of the US-Pakistan bilateral relations. And here, Balochistan can play a vital role in terms of providing this access to rare earth that is there. Now, the most important thing that we are looking at when we have locked in the US interest in Balochistan, it will help, the strategic relations. It will also help, the geopolitical relations that we have. And it will also help overall, in the stability of the region because US is still a superpower. It is a near resident power. It has allies in the region. And the US interest in other than strategic domain would provide Pakistan this opportunity opportunity that we can leverage that relation in other areas of our bilateral relationship as well. So this is why the Trump administration's reach out to Pakistan and Pakistan's reciprocal gesture of welcoming by taking concrete steps is a very welcoming, is a great gesture that has been appreciated locally and internationally. I just quickly give you example that we have these laws enacted where that will govern the new mineral policies in both provinces, in KP and Balochistan. We have one window operation, what we call it, a copycat of the SIFC, which will be the Mineral Facilitation Council, equivalent to one window operation, where it will circumvent all the bureaucratic dysfunction in orders, and also it has established a mechanism where the benefit will accrue to the local players. However, in terms of Balochistan, we have big issues in terms of the in terms of the political economy, and in terms of the government structures, and in terms of the governance order, where we need to have serious reforms so that the benefit is also reach out to the grassroots level, to the local level.
You mentioned reforms. What sort of reforms specifically do you have in mind, and why are they needed?
Well, I mean, the governance model is really dysfunctioning, I would say, in Balochistan. The money is appropriating in a manner where the recipients would not get it. The corruption is a big problem. Mismanagement is another challenge, and what I call it, the governance disorder. What I mean is the bureaucratic dysfunction. They have got a role to play if we don't do reforms in terms of structure, demographics, and also the bureaucratic behavior. I think whatever resources would come in, the people will not benefit because it will go to vested interest groups. This is why simultaneously, where we are inviting the international investors, we also need to make sure that the structures of the government, particularly the governments in Balochistan and KP, are such that they make the local people a stakeholder, not the shareholders of the government, the bureaucracy.
Okay. As a student of political science, let me ask you a political economy question. Pakistan is a post-colonial state which came into existence around 78 years ago. The nature of constitution, the distribution of power and resources between center and provinces is similar in different provinces. Why, as a student of political science, this governance challenge is more evident on the west bank of River Indus and not so much disturbing in the two provinces of Punjab and Sindh? Why only in KPK and Balochistan?
I think the elite of Balochistan was and is the main problem. They have this dominance in terms of government structures. The democratic dispensation is monopolized by them. They are what we call it electables. So they control the pillars of power. They become minister, then the next generation, and then the next generation. That's what we see Balochistan in terms of the political leadership. So they don't allow reforms based on demographics, based on structures, based on the new demand of the era, and they want to be as archaic as they can think of, so that they continue with the vested interest that they have developed it, and the constituencies that which serve them to grab this power. So this grab and monopoly over this power structure need to be broken. This is why we see disenchantment
who will break it
and disconnect.
And how it will be broken?
I think no politician can think of beyond elections, beyond public opinion, beyond his constituency. It is the state that has to intervene at some stage and say enough is enough. We need 21st century reforms. We have to be aggressively bringing this part of the world with, the at par with other part of Pakistan. It cannot be a backwater. It cannot be handed over to few feudal lords or few tribal lords who would determine the fate of the people, and we cannot just allow people to remain disconnected with the state, i.e. the government of the province. This is why I believe that the state has to have a 21st century reforms enacted in Balochistan so that it is ready for this transformation, which is going to be not only economic but also social and political, so that we remove all local drivers that sustain deprivation, that sustain misgovernance, that sustain deprivation, and that sustain bureaucratic dysfunction.
So, can you identify a few key drivers of bad governance in Balochistan?
Well, I think, as I mentioned, one is, of course, the bureaucratic, lack of reforms that we are talking about. You give them billions of dollars, they cannot appropriate it to certain heads, and it is surrendered again, not to be used for any benefit of the people. Now, what will be what the federal government would do if the budget is not even spent? So this is why we have a recurring problem of no water, no electricity, no basic human dignity in terms of jobs, in terms of hospitals, in terms of schools, and when the money is not spent on these heads, which is meant to be. Second challenge is we really need to have a new provinces in new administrative based on administrative structures. It was one province that was made 50 years ago by few feudals based on one ethnic group, where it's a multi-ethnic province where 60% is not represented in the major power structure of the province. For example, you cannot be a chief minister if you don't have a Baloch domicile, where there are other ethnic groups like Pashtuns, Hazaras, Punjabi-speaking, Sindhi-speaking communities, which constitute 60% of the population. So if you don't represent them, they cannot be stakeholders. However, what I call it, like a corporate world, you have few shareholders who belong to an elite class who cannot allow dispensation of the equitable distribution of resources, so you don't have attraction down top at the grassroots level, and you've got a problem.
Now let's come to the issue of which is at hand, and the most significant issue, which is that of insurgency. What is the relationship between bad governance and insurgency in Balochistan? Before we come to the specifics of
I don't think there is any correlation between the two. Underdevelopment is another part of the provinces as well. KP South, Punjab, South, rural Sindh. You have got the same level of poverty, underdevelopment and problems.
But you don't have insurgencies there.
Yes, but here the insurgency is the byproduct of the Sardars, the feudals, who have this leverage over the state when they want to blackmail it. One brother is a kinetic leader of a militia. Whenever they get a foreign funding, they get activated. Whenever the foreign forces want to have some kinetic action in Balochistan, they call upon these services, and then you have got the same old nomenclature called BLA relaunched, redressed, and sent out to the field, and then they create these kinetic incidents. BLA was formed in 1970s. BLF, another terrorist group, was created in 68. So it's not today's phenomenon. Whenever you go back to the history, you would see whenever they got foreign funding, when we had a problem with our neighbors, they got money from these groups, from these countries, and we had some kinetic action on the ground.
So I want to stop you there so that you can simplify and expand it further. So are you arguing that whenever a particular Sardar or an influential tribal lord, for a simplicity of words for our international audience, is not in power, is not relevant in Islamabad and Pindi, and is not being looked after financially, he would look elsewhere for kinetic or financial support and political agenda. And that's what insurgency in Balochistan is essentially.
Absolutely. I mean, I just want to rephrase it. That is the local drivers which have created these groups. They are very much well connected with each others. They have the same ideology. They have the same narrative. They believe that state has to be blackmailed. Now, there are three leverages through which they state blackmail. One is gun touting. These militias are ragtag groups, kinetic groups which do terrorism. Second is, their soft power, like IS Sardar, Sardar Akhtar Mengal, B Sardar, X Sardar, where they bless that gun touting terrorists, and they support their narrative, and also they blame the state for creation of those, which they believe is the byproduct of the deprivation. And the third argument is that they leverage the deprivation as the outcome of state neglect, so that this narrative, they can sell it to the masses in Lahore and Karachi that look, and Islamabad, that look, the state has no contribution to Balochistan development, and here I am pleading the case of the people, and here the people, the gun touting people who have got frustrated with this underdevelopment, so you need to talk to us. You need to engage us in dialogue. If you don't engage in dialogue, the army have to fight these gun-touting BLAs and terrorist groups for ages. So that is their argument. My argument is this is a blackmail tactics that they always use it. It's not the first time.
So let me stop you here to ask you a supplementary question. That what has state and the governments in 78 done in terms of their strategy towards addressing this festering problem? They have only resorted to two maximalist options: appeasement and kinetic action. Why is that, and why we can do something different and better this time?
I've never seen a decisive, meaningful kinetic action in the past. It has never been.
Why?
Somehow the state just negotiated with these tribal.
Negotiated or appeased?
Both. I mean, you can use the word appease. So they negotiated and they bought off the peace, because the state knew that these guys have been put out there because they want something. Power, resources, bribery, whatever.
And they always got what they wanted.
So this is why.
So in all these insurgencies, state was on the losing side.
Absolutely. This is why we have this recurring insurgency episodes.
So we've never had a decisive CT operation.
Exactly. We never had. Even today, we have this confusion whether it is a proxy force supported by the foreign actors, or it is an indigenous reaction to some miscarriage of justice by the state. This is why the people sitting in Karachi, Islamabad, Lahore, they think of TTP and BLA, the two terrorist groups, in different, parameters. Yeah. They sympathize and empathize with the terrorists, Baloch terrorists, but they condemn, the TTP as a religious proxy or simple terrorist groups. So this is why for the state it's easy to launch a kinetic action against the TTP versus the Baloch BLA, which is ethnically Baloch, where the elite in Pakistan think that since they have been done some wrong in the past, so it's a reflection of that injustice. So this is why they need to be engaged in dialogue, where my plea is they are the byproduct of these Sardars who wanted some benefit from the state. When they are out of power, they simply launch these people. But since we have got a problem, geopolitical problem with our neighbors, they get a sanctuary there, they get money there, and they start kinetic actions.
No, but I have a very important question based on what you just said. If you argue that it's the Sardari Nizam, the Sardari system, the feudal power grab, which is blackmailing the state of Pakistan, and which has been magnanimous towards them and tolerant towards them, does this mean that whenever there is any politician or Sardar making a call for talks or negotiation, is he essentially arguing that he has the mandate to and the support to negotiate on behalf of the insurgents?
By implication, yes.
So if Mengal Saab is saying, I want to talk, so who is he representing? Is he representing BLA, BLF?
Well, by extension, yes.
Or can he ensure that even if state negotiates with him, he will ensure they behave properly and will give up arms?
He cannot. He cannot.
So what's the point of negotiating with him?
Yeah, the point is, since he's out of power, he wants something, in terms of material benefits. Now, the leverage that he is using it is this gun touting ragtag BLA, where his diagnosis is, if state do not negotiate with me, this kinetic action will continue. Now, this is simply a blackmail. The state has been blackmailed in the past. This time, I think the state has resolved to meaningfully, finish off with these terrorist groups once and for all, because gun should be out of the equation. You are a non-state actor. You simply cannot blackmail a state and nuclear power.
But do you think that state has actually learned that it needs to stop getting blackmailed?
I think for the first time, I'm very much encouraged and hopeful that the state has learned for the first time that we need to get rid of this behavior where we hand over Balochistan to few strong people, strong men who deal with the masses on the state behalf. They get all the share, they get the power, they get all the pyre, and then, they bring us some peace for the state. So that is the quid pro quo, which was the past behavior. Now, once and for all, I think my plea is, and I hope the state has realized now that we need to separate the people of Balochistan from their elite, whether they're a pro-federation elite, pro-Pakistan elite, or these ethnic anti-Pakistan elite. Their agenda is the same. They want to exploit the resources the way their generations have been exploiting it. The same structure they don't want to reform, because the PSTP means, it's a corruption. You have 200 guards, you have wealth in Karachi, in Dubai, in London, and sprawling properties in New York. So that money has to come from the provincial exchequer. The exchequer, if you reform it, then it's no benefit to these elites. So this is why we, for the first time, I think, the argument that I'm making it that 95% of the population have to be empowered. The middle class have to be empowered. They need to be supported by the state, not the elite, where, you just mentioned the political economy argument, who are the main hurdle in reforms, who are part of the problem in creating, these kinetic ragtag, tribal BLA, and also creating this hatred between communities versus a B community, and also leveraging deprivation argument to provide supply chain for more recruitment of the youth to become suicide bombers and kill people.
So now let's come to the last part of our discussion, way forward. How can Pakistan and what can Pakistan do differently this time based on learning from its bitter experiences with several insurgencies in Balochistan, and perhaps achieving some sustainable and enduring results as well?
Well, it's very simple. As a hard state, Pakistan need to exhibit this behavior in Balochistan. For too long, it has been buying off peace just by, allowing these Sardars to collude with these ragtag and then, just go back to the normal. They have to be, removed from the equation. So kinetically, they have to be defeated. These Sardar who are blackmailing the state through these three leverages have to be neutralized through neutralizing the leverages. The second is deprivation. They need to be, addressing it in terms of the government structure, where the money has to go to the common people. It has to go to the real beneficiaries, the real stakeholder, the people. The current governance and bureaucratic model does not allow that. This is also not a rocket science, very simple. And the fourth most important thing, this province need more provinces. Is half of Pakistan, where one CM, you have almost, you're talking about 12 hours journey from Quetta to a Iranian border town, Taftan, or 9 hours drive from Quetta to Gwadar. So it's not governable in terms of administration, in terms of bureaucracy, in terms of law and order, law enforcement agencies. So this is why if you have 5 administrative units, you have a more political coverage of the people, you have a good administrative system where every small unit will take care of their own small units, and we would have all the scattered population covered in. The total population is, I think, would be equivalent to a small town of France, Nice I'm talking about, or probably somewhere in UK, a small town, if I can give you example, Birmingham probably. So this is why we need to be bringing Balochistan to 21st century in terms of these reforms. So it's government structures, demographics, and bureaucratic dysfunction. It's very simple administrative problem. There is no political problem. The insurgency is foreign sponsored, and the nuclear state Pakistan is well equipped to meaningfully finish them once and for all.
Last 2 questions. First off, you seem to advocate and argue in favor of a decisive kinetic action, which can yield sustainable results. Does that require political and social support? And if so, where is that going to come from, number one? And secondly, what sort of international reaction you expect in human rights organizations, regional neighbors, and international community?
I think the challenge that the state faces is that it's trying to avoid any collateral damage in Balochistan if it goes full, operation. Second challenge is, the judiciary, it's a dysfunction. We have insurgency and its facilitators and abettors. So if you don't go for field execution, where you will go? These people have a serious allegation against them. So you cannot simply hand over them. For one intel operation, 17, 18 officers take 1.5 years to arrest one culprit. They might, even cross the borders for this one person to be arrested who is a terrorist or facilitator. But when you produce it in the court of law, they just get away because they don't accept your evidence of video and audio and other evidences, the weapons and everything. And then he's caught free, and then he come back to the community and start fighting again. So this is why the state has a problem in terms of, dealing with them effectively in terms of prosecution of the criminals. The third most is always political. The political elite simply does not want this leverage to be neutralized once and for all, because it has been making sure that they are being listened to when they are out of power. This is why they have this sympathy with these people, and they always confuse the state of Pakistan that, okay, it's a reflection of the misgovernance of the state and the neglect of the state. So let's have a dialogue and rehabilitate. And then some people surrender. The rest, go back to the, mountains and the sanctuaries and wait for another day to fight. And when they are activated, they come back maybe after 10 years. So this is a cycle that every 10 years or probably 15 years we see in Balochistan. This is why the state has a problem in terms of fighting a kinetic war against these people. But this time, I think the state is very much serious that Balochistan is no more a backwater. It is going to be the next big thing, big success story of the region. So it has to eliminate gun touting, ragtag, these BLA terrorists once and for all. And then we will talk, whoever want to talk, who want to be engaged, and whatever reforms, we would have a debate on the nature of reforms and the extent of the reforms.
Mr. Jan, thank you so much for joining us and sharing a very insightful perspective on the realities of Balochistan and the future of Balochistan, and also for highlighting that what great and immense opportunities it offers, not just to the common Baloch people, but for also the emerging and insurgent world powers to simultaneously address their challenges and make Pakistan relevant in a changing world order.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Viewers, thank you for joining us. Hope you enjoyed this program. Don't forget to share your feedback and comments, and keep watching this program. Thank you so much.